With Virgin Media, you can build up the entertainment and tear down the price. Switch to Virgin Media today and get superfast broadband and TV for just €49 a month for an awesome 12 months. The sale that stacks up. Now on. See virginmedia.ie and check out how our mobile sales stacks up too.
T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie. 12-month contract. Offer ends 27th of February 2019.
Everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist,
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up today, Dan, there's been a death.
Tragedy.
Oh.
Tragedy has struck Utah.
Oh,
Salt Lake City is in mourning.
Oh, and you can tell because the billboards on I-15, Dan.
The electronic, yes, the big, ever-changing electronic billboards now frequently flash with the in memorial
of Thomas S. Monson. Thomas Spencer Monson.
Oh, now we know. Now we get to know.
Now we know his middle name.
It's never revealed until their death. You never know, and then at their death, it's like Fight Club.
That's actually not true.
No,
but,
it's not true.
Prophet, seer, and revelator, president of the Mormon Church until last Tuesday, has passed away.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking in the second half of the show about sort of how that works.
Yeah,
how do Mormons pick the new leader.
About the succession of Mormon leadership and what it means.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah, what color is the smoke that comes out of the top of the temple?
Out of
the ancient
Moroni's horn. Oh my God! How does that not happen? How does that not happen? I don't know. I don't know who I need to write a letter to, but that's gotta.
I know.
And then out comes the smoke.
Well, anyway. We're promising that for the second half of the show. And just because it is such a big story, I have a story that's related to the whole Thomas S. Monson passing.
Well, okay.
In that the New York Times ran an obituary.
Right.
About his death.
That's how you know you've made it.
Oh, yeah.
You have that New York Times obituary. You know you've made it in the world.
Big time, right?
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of hubbub in Mormon circles because it was a very honest obituary. And that's not what they want.
Well,
it's not what they want to hear.
They were upset.
Yeah.
They were furious.
The article, the obituary, rather, starts with an acknowledgement that during Thomas S. Monson's time as president of the church, the ranks of female missionaries grew significantly. In fact, doubled. As the obituary gets to. But he also reigned over a time when the church denied demands from women to be ordained.
Yes,
to
indeed.
the priesthood. Both of those are true.
Ladies wearing pants and in church, trousers.
Yeah, awful. Just the end of everything. And also he refused to alter church opposition to same-sex marriage. This is all in the first paragraph.
He kind of made it worse.
Yeah, he did. The article mentions that as well, specifically later on. It says that Mr. Monson did not bend teachings holding homosexuality to be immoral, bans on sexual intercourse outside male-female marriages, and an all-male priesthood would remain unaltered. He says the article though says that Monson displayed a new openness to scholars of Mormonism, allowing them remarkable access to church records.
I guess so. He did actually open up church records a lot more.
This is also a period of time when those articles, I forget what they were calling them specifically.
The essays
the essays about certain pieces of Mormon history,
controversial topics.
These were
that they didn't announce to their membership, but they sort of quietly threw up onto a dark corner of their website.
Yeah, indeed. Anyway, Mormons your true believing Mormons are outraged that they would dare mention these facts.
Well,
about
they were
his
outraged
time.
because it focused so heavily on these controversies and didn't focus on his lifetime of service.
Well, I would argue though that after they hash out these really pivotal issues that the church was facing under his leadership, the whole second half of the article is just nothing about it, or it's solely about his
Lifetime
life
of service, Frank. It was a lifetime of service.
Indeed. But there's been a petition now. Last time I saw it, it was like 40,000 signatures on it. Probably more than that by now.
Yeah.
Probably way more than that by now. This was yesterday, I think. Or
So dumb.
They want a retraction. They want the New York Times to retract the entire obituary and to write one that's favorable.
And to write, no, they want to. They if they retract it, then he comes back alive, I think.
But here's the deal. All this says to me about these Mormons is that they know in some deep part of themselves how wrong the church's position is on these issues.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Because
I feel like what it says is that they. I mean, I get where you're coming from with that,
right? Because let me finish the thought, just in case our listeners aren't right there with you.
Right.
They are now so far, I think, in the minority on these issues in this country.
Yeah.
And gay marriage is the law of the land, and the country has not blown up.
Right.
We've seen this. I mean, we did elect a nincompoop, and we may still blow up.
Yeah. That could happen.
But try drawing the lines between those two events. I think they know. They're embarrassed on some level. Because otherwise, the statement that Mr. Monson did not bend, this is important. He stood up for their values. These are their values.
Yeah.
These are the things that they've been fighting for, and they should be proud of those things.
Yeah, it does seem like that's a thing.
Because they're clearly not proud of those things.
Right. It does seem, it's very funny.
They know that those things make them weird.
Right. It's very funny that the thing that the New York Times decides to focus on is the fact that that the church remained the same under his tenure. Like, their big headline is, nothing has changed.
Another old prophet dies.
Yes, exactly. Old white man dies, having changed nothing. That's their headline.
Essentially achieving nothing.
And then all of the Mormons are like, how dare you say that say that nothing changed? Point that out.
That this conservative organization, he succeeded in doing nothing.
Right. He was very, very successful at his nothing. He held on to it with the vice grip of Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyhow,
There you go.
the rest of all that discussion coming up later.
Yep. We'll talk about
the mechanics of it.
Yeah,
Ooh,
exactly.
it's so interesting.
And maybe like sort of the Mormon attitude toward the prophet is something that we'll need to talk about because
Put it into some context.
it plays into this.
The songs. There are songs written.
Yes, there are songs. I'm going to jump to Mississippi.
Oh.
Another red state. Another. No one will be surprised that Mississippi. The Mississippi legislature passed a state law a while back, and we reported on this, that said that anyone who had a sincerely held religious belief that gays suck off and are terrible people. I'm pretty sure that's exact wording. I'm not.
That's the law?
Yeah. If you have a sincerely held religious belief that you don't like the gays and that you don't like the trans people, then you don't have to hire them, and you can fire them at will.
Yeah.
And you can treat them like shit, and you can probably poop in their yard and whatever. Like
you can get away with a lot.
You can get away with pretty much anything.
Right.
Literally, clerks don't have to give them marriage licenses if it's against their own personal religious views or whatever.
Jesus Christ.
So obviously, the lawsuits went forth
right
in the land.
Yeah.
But
were people harmed by this?
Well, here's the trick. According to the law, no, people have not been harmed by this.
How
Or
so?
at least the people who have brought this lawsuit have not shown harm.
How?
Well, because they're suing before the harm has happened to try and get the law never to actually take effect. So,
the law still is not in effect.
the law,
It's
well,
been passed,
it
but
is now in
Okay.
effect. It was under an injunction for a while.
Okay.
And then it went to the federal courts. Yeah, it was federal courts. It went into the federal system, and a federal judge allowed the law, and then a federal appeals court allowed the law, or rather just denied the claims of the plaintiffs.
Right.
And what has happened now is that the Supreme Court of the United States has declined to take the case.
Wow. But this is all based on the fact that they don't have standing? Is that the
Nobody,
issue?
well, yeah, that they have not shown harm.
They've not shown harm.
So
who are the people suing?
oh,
right
just
now?
like I think it's the people. It's just everybody.
So it's not like a gay couple went to go get a license and the clerk denied it.
Nope, because
and
that
now they're
hasn't happened
claiming-
yet. So
Okay.
there's definitely room in these decisions for that to happen.
Okay.
So this is not a settled matter. It's just that now we have to wait for a gay person to be fired or to be denied some sort of right, and then they have to sue, and then it has to go through the years of process, whatever that takes. And that's,
How is this the process? How is it not that the states can't make the law?
well, because we can't count on these state lawmakers to not pass laws that they know will eventually just lose in the courts. Like, it's going to have to cost all of the money to go through the court system.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why can we not just skip past this whole process,
Right.
and just say, you know what, like, if you do this, clearly, logically, someone's going to be harmed.
And then they'll sue, and then we'll spend gobs of taxpayer money defending a law that never should have been passed in the first place.
Like, yeah,
And-
there just needs to be like some fast track legal process, some
Yeah.
no speed limit,
Right.
something or other,
Right.
Like, just we get it.
Right. Just
We know we all can agree. We know where this is going. Can
Right.
we just say this is going to happen because of this?
let's put
And
this
is
one on the
something
bullet
that
train.
should happen.
Right.
No, it's not. So let's not let it stand.
Yeah. Ugh. So anyway, that's
I mean,
where
I get
we're
there's
at.
a process. I get it, but it just infuriates me. Whatever.
So yes, it won't go to the Supreme Court yet.
All right. Well, here's a fight that's
Oh.
may or may not be worth having.
Okay.
There is a French town in southern France
A good place for a French town.
where the mayor has banned pork-free school meals.
Wait. So all of the meals have to have pork?
I wish that's what it was.
Because that's what it sounded like you just said.
It's essentially, so there was a pork-free school meal option available at the schools.
So if
school lunch.
if pork was on the menu, you could opt out.
You could opt out and have a pork-free
Sure.
option. This was mainly for the Muslim students
Right, of
at the
course.
school.
But also the Jews.
The Jews. However, in this town, there might have been one Jewish kid that this was affecting.
Yeah, in southern France, there's a heavy, because of France's colonization of northern Africa. There's a heavy Muslim thing happening.
This is true
in southern France.
So this actually, you would think, well, I mean, really, how many Muslim students could there possibly be in this little tiny town of Beaucaire, which is south of Avignon? 600 total students locally.
Wow.
That's how many students are in the school, right?
It's no small shakes.
150 of them are Muslim.
Oh, I thought we were saying, okay, so total, 600 total.
It's a tiny little town.
And then a
quarter.
Wait, 150, yeah, okay.
Yeah, a quarter of the students in this school, for religious reasons, can't eat the pork, right?
But
the mayor, this hard right dude, is saying that it is anti-Republican, meaning against the Republic of France,
right?
To cater to these religious needs. We're a secular nation, is basically his argument. But people are coming forward and they're saying that this is Merlene Schiappa. She's a minister for sexual equality. She said that the decision was, quote, a typical example of someone brandishing secularism as an anti-Muslim political weapon.
Right.
Or anti-Jewish, for that matter.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, what it says is that the dicks are not all on the other side of the aisle. You know what I mean? Like, people that we would normally align with,
right,
can also be just dicks.
People who are fighting for secularism,
right?
Yeah,
can also just be the worst. Yeah, because that's fucking the worst.
No, this is absolutely, this is terrible.
This is like,
right, you don't make allies, you make enemies.
Right,
out of this kind of behavior.
Well, and we
want we definitely don't want them to be,
And what's to be gained by being a dick about it? Where's the gain for secularism?
You know what you want is you want those kids mixing with all the other kids,
right?
In your town, you want them to be exposed as much as possible to your French ways. And if all of a sudden your French schools are no longer, accommodating in any way, shape, or form, then you really risk alienating these people.
Well, and it's like, yes, your government should be secular.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that your society needs to be secular. Your society should be about pluralism.
Right. And
your government, a secular administration of that pluralistic society. That's how it's supposed to work.
Dingbats. You preach it, Brother Dan.
The dingbats. Frenchies.
Yeah. So it's kind of sad. I will say this. I don't know. We've talked about Anthony Bourdain before.
Have we? On the show?
Maybe not on the show. Maybe not on the show.
We like
But
Anthony
on that
Bourdain.
CNN Anthony Bourdain series, the one he's most recently doing, he visits a school lunch program in France when he's in Lyon.
Oh.
And God, if I couldn't have been a little French kid going to French school,
right?
Getting French food.
Oh yeah,
beautiful French food for lunch.
Oh yeah,
the most beautiful food.
Of course, I can imagine. I mean, I've been to France enough times that I know, like, even McDonald's has way better ingredients.
Yeah.
In France.
Yeah,
they have laws.
Yeah,
about like
what can go into food.
Yeah.
What is food?
This lettuce is not food. No.
Like just gorgeous, beautiful food. And I mean, I would definitely eat all the pork they would offer me because I bet it's delicious.
I'm sure it is.
Poor Muslim kids.
Yeah. All right. Coming back to these United States, I think the gays are ruining everything, is what's happening in the world. And I blame you gay folk.
We have a way. We leave our mark, usually.
Indeed. Apparently the Mennonites have been fracturing.
How does gay fit into the Mennonites?
Well, it doesn't. Not very well, anyway.
Okay.
But there have been some Mennonite sort of offshoots that have been trying to do, like, every now and then they'll be like, maybe we shouldn't hate the gays entirely. Every now and then you get a Mennonite minister who wants to marry a gay couple just for shits and giggles.
Really?
The weird thing that's happening is that the Lancaster Mennonite Conference, which is the largest group of Mennonite congregations in the United States, has officially separated from the broader Mennonite community.
Oh, wow.
What's weird about this is that they are doing it because they are traditional, conservative, and they don't want... This is 179 churches in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and New York.
Wow.
They don't want the gay marriage. They oppose gay marriage, and they're very uncomfortable with gayness in general. They're not okay
Well,
with...
I'm sorry.
They're not okay with gays.
Wow. Okay.
But what's weird about it is that they're breaking off from a group of people who are also not okay with gays. They're just maybe a little less not okay. It's bizarre to me because the larger Mennonite community, no one's saying we're okay with gays.
Huh.
But the fact that they've been sort of mumbling about maybes has been enough, I guess,
That's just too far.
to fracture the Mennonite community.
Boy,
It's
don't
crazy.
suggest any change in that community.
No, no. Or you'll have... I mean, it's not like, this is not a large group of people.
Right.
Mennonites do not represent a significant number of American churchgoers.
Right.
But still, that's kind of nuts. In 2016, there were about 78,000 members of the Mennonite Church.
Huh.
Which is down from 133,000 in the 90s.
Wow.
So they're not doing great.
And the Mennonites, they are Amish-esque.
They're Anabaptists.
Okay. The Anabaptists.
They are which apparently I means that they just believe in adult baptism.
Oh yeah.
They don't believe that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like baptizing a child, baptizing a baby,
Ludicrous.
is insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are. I think they're usually interesting headwear wearing folk. I think the ladies cover their hair.
Lots of
with
men
a
named Ezekiel.
Yeah, I'm guessing
Probably.
that's true. I'm good. Or Jedediah.
Jedediah. So this is not that there's been an Ezekiel and a Jedediah who married.
I don't think so.
No. Raised a barn together.
No, I feel like that's not what has happened here. Like from what I can tell from what I've read, there have been people in the Mennonite community who have been saying that that maybe we should be looking at homosexuality differently, but it doesn't feel like anybody's been like, oh no, we need to be. Let's paint all of our churches rainbow. We need to do that. I don't think that's happened at all.
I would love for one of these like technology eschewing groups to just get good on the gays. That would be like the craziest, most amazing, weird thing.
Right.
And that would make me smile.
A buggy in the Pride Parade?
Absolutely.
Who
yes.
doesn't want that?
This is what I need in my life.
Two guys with full beards and head to toe black.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, we support you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can't use electronics, but we support you.
Yeah. And buttons.
Yeah.
Or no zippers.
No,
we hate zippers.
No buttons. No. I don't think they have clothes that fasten. We're talking about Amish people now. We are totally not talking about Mennonites at this point.
Yeah, Mennonites can drive tractor.
I think Mennonites can.
Don't they?
Mennonites. I've seen Mennonites in airports. I think they can do all the things.
Really? They
don't
just
know.
wear funny clothes?
Yeah.
They're like German Baptists.
Let's just conflate them, though. Why not? They're all the same.
The women wear. Are we talking about the women who have the thing on the bun on the back of their head? I grew up with a ton of those kids.
Yeah, I think so.
But that was out in California.
I don't know.
I mean, I didn't really grow up with them. I saw them at the supermarket.
I actually think that there are Mennonites.
But there were a lot of them around.
I think that there are Mennonites who don't wear any they just dress modern clothes. They just sort of
Interesting. Like Malcolm Gladwell.
But I feel better about thinking about them as Amish. So let's just do that. It's just more fun for me.
Yeah.
It makes me happier.
Well, Malcolm Gladwell's family is
Mennonite? Okay.
They converted.
Did they do it? If they've been Mennonites for 10,000 hours, then I believe that they're really good at it.
That's really silly. All right, moving on, Dan.
Sure.
The story of some 10 Commandments, a monument that's been erected down in Texas.
Skun-dun-dun.
Oh, my God. And a beautiful workaround, Dan.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's on private property.
Well, then who the fuck cares?
It's at a shopping mall.
Oh, well.
So you kind of care, right? I don't like places. I don't like businesses that where where the owners choose to put their religion out front and center. This bugs me. You know, like
absolutely.
You know, what is it? Hobby Lobby puts like there's a little Bible verse on the bottom of the bag.
Same with Forever 21.
Yeah.
Same with In-N-Out Burger.
In-N-Out does it.
It's
Chick-fil-A
annoying.
does it, don't they?
I don't think they do scripture. Maybe they do.
Maybe they don't do the scriptures, but they close Sunday.
Right.
Which is fucking annoying because when I want my crappy piece of chicken with a sad piece of pickle on bun with no condiments.
Right.
When I'm really jonesing for that.
That's a thing.
That's when I need
I'll tell you this.
My Chick-fil-A.
It's annoying. I mean, for any... And it's alienating. That's the thing that they're doing. They're alienating their non-Christian...
Yeah.
One assumes that they want non-Christian customers.
I would assume In-N-Out has tons of non-Christian customers.
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I like In-N-Out
Probably
a lot.
Forever 21, too.
Yeah.
Right.
But the question is, usually when we're talking about a monument like this,
yeah,
we're talking about
something on public property, on the court grounds or courthouse grounds or the city hall or at a park or
which
something.
is something that we, one would expect protests, one would expect...
Absolutely, because public money is going toward... If maybe it was donated... But it's still there, sitting on this property. It's being maintained by the city.
It's a violation of the
space.
First Amendment of our national constitution.
Space. I should be able to walk into a courthouse without having to be,
without having to feel like our government is honoring one religious viewpoint over all others.
Absolutely.
So,
I was going to say, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No. You're fine. That was beautifully worded.
Right. I'm very articulate sometimes. Almost never.
But anyway, this is a shopping mall. And let's just think this through for a second. So here's an official statement from the general manager of the Music City Mall, which is outside of, or it's in the Dallas area.
Oh, okay.
Who the fuck knows? It's somewhere in DFW.
Right.
Area.
The grander Metroplex.
The Metroplex, as it were. This is their statement. We're not trying to make a statement or make a controversy or create a controversy. The monument reflects the mall owner's belief system, and he is not afraid to share it. But you are making a statement.
Well,
you're making
obviously.
a religious statement.
Yeah. And
you think it's not going to cause at least mild controversy?
Now, here's the interesting thing. I did see this story.
Yeah.
And the story that I saw talked about the fact that nobody showed up to protest.
Well, but why would you? It's private property.
What I'm saying is I'm giving kudos to our people,
right,
for recognizing when to protest and when not to protest.
Right.
I think it actually shows a great degree of focus.
Right.
For us to...
Well, we'll never win this one. It's tacky on the part of the business owner.
Right. And it may be...
distasteful.
And it may make certain people feel uncomfortable enough that they don't go and shop at that mall.
My guess is in a place like Dallas, Texas, that's going to be a very small minority. Yeah, very small.
Because everywhere you look in Texas, there's a cross, there's Jesus. It's everywhere.
But also the fact that it's... what's the... 78% of the Dallas area is Christian.
Right.
18% claim to have no religious affiliation. According to Pew.
Huh.
But of that 18%, a lot of us have coping skills.
Right.
With these things.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't. And I would say I'm in the category of, if that mall is right across the street and I really need a hot dog on a stick, I'll probably go.
Yeah.
Right? But if there were two malls equidistant, I would choose the one that didn't.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's great. I think that's a great point of view. I somewhere in the back of my mind, it occurs to me that this guy thought he might get some publicity.
Yeah.
And put it up hoping protesters would show up.
Right. Well, he definitely did a big debut.
Oh, yeah. He
has the monument behind him.
And this is no small monument. This is a giant.
He definitely, I think, if nothing else, not even getting the protesters, I think he knew that it would get him some attention.
Right.
And I think that's really shitty. I think that's a shitty use of your faith, sir.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess any use of faith is shitty, but this one is a public display.
Might be a shrewd business move, though.
A rammy-umptum? Isn't that what the Book of Mormon calls the big prayer tower thing?
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's what this guy's doing.
Yeah.
It's distasteful.
It is distasteful. But, you know, if you need your...
He's putting his faith on display. I was always taught that was
fast
distasteful.
fashion.
That I grew up that you don't put your faith on display.
Well,
Jesus, your faith is private.
Jesus said not to.
Yeah.
But they like to take the things that they like and ignore the things that they don't like.
I know, but whatever.
You know, whatever. I mean, we've played countless clips on our show of evangelical faith leaders talking about how you need to get out there and you need to tell them we're under siege as Christians. You need to get out there and tell them.
Right.
I mean, we hear that refrain constantly. So we're going to have to expect all this bullshit.
But also here's the deal. This is a perfect moment to be under siege. And this goes to your point, right?
Yeah.
Which is good that we didn't really say anything about it.
Yeah.
We didn't show up and flip the guy off and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Because where's the siege on this mall?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I've already admitted I would go and frequent their food court.
Right.
Right.
If I need my fast fashion and they're the closest place.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to drive 20 miles out of my way to avoid a monument at a mall.
Right.
Yeah. What this points out is, this is a non-issue to us. It's annoying.
Right.
And it's ugly.
Yeah.
But fuck it. Who cares? Yeah. Malls are annoying and ugly, period. Across the board. All of them.
Yeah.
So.
No, take that back, Dan. Ugly, all of them, are beautiful. $2 billion mall downtown, Dan.
I mean,
is gorgeous.
It's clearly beautiful. That's true.
It has a creek running down the middle, Dan.
With fish in it.
With fish in it.
It's beautiful.
Has a retractable roof.
Okay.
$2 billion
Enough.
buys a nice mall.
Enough,
Dan.
Frank. Terrible.
Courtesy the LDS Church, just in case you're wondering.
Yeah, exactly.
Why I would bother to bring that
an
up.
owned and operated feature of the LDS Church. Anyway, I'm going to take us to Kansas. We reported a while back on these men who were plotting to bomb a mosque and an apartment complex, a Somali apartment complex.
I vaguely remember this.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So there are three men who are standing trial for this conspiracy.
Okay.
They were going to do it last year. They were going to do it like right after the election or something like that.
Okay.
But they were caught before. Thank God, before it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're on trial. Well, their lawyers are upset because the jury selection process. They want the pool from which the jury is drawn to be larger and include more of rural Kansas. Because these Wichita city folk have a different viewpoint than rural Kansans.
Yeah, you think?
And they think that they want, well, what they want to do is stack the deck with Trump voters.
Yeah.
They want to get as many bigots on this jury as they possibly can.
Yeah. Maybe not other church or mosque bombers,
Right.
But people who maybe
who know for a fact that them Muslims are all terrorists anyway.
Right. Well, and if nothing else, people who've got a cousin or a neighbor who looks and sounds exactly like one of these guys.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, these guys look like a lineup of perfect Kansans.
Turn it just slightly toward me.
All right.
Kind of.
You can see. They are good old boys.
Yeah, those are.
The pictures aren't tremendously flattering because they're mugshots, and mugshots are not going to be flattering. But
no.
Attorney Carrie Schmidt, who represents one of the guys, told the judge that there is a difference in the belief system between people in rural southwest Kansas, where the crimes allegedly occurred, and people in other rural counties near Wichita, because there are some rural counties that are included in the geographic area from which they're drawing their jurors.
Sure, just not enough.
But they're not the same as the Southwest Kansans.
Oh,
they need to get some of these real hillbillies in the mix.
Be careful about that hillbilly word. You don't want to confuse hillbillies for rednecks. You didn't watch Ozark, did you?
I'm afraid I do lump hillbilly and redneck into the same category.
You need to watch Ozark.
I didn't use the word white trash. I was trying to avoid that one.
That's different. Hillbillies do not like being called.
Okay. Well, I'm apparently going to have Jeff Foxworthy come in and do some sensitivity training for me because I don't know.
Indeed.
I don't know. All right. Well, my apologies to anyone in rural Kansas that I have offended. If you'd like to write into us and tell us how badly I've bungled this, you can do so. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yes, indeed. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click that like button.
And while you're there, you might as well search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It's a closed group, but we'll let you in.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Dan.
Yes, sir.
We've got a little clip here.
Yeah.
I think we need to play. One Ms. Linda Harvey.
Oh,
yes. She's the host, I guess, of a radio show called Mission America.
Yeah.
She doesn't really like gay people much.
Well, I'll bet she would say that she loves the people and hates their horrible, disgusting, awful sin.
Maybe that's what she would say. Let's have a listen to her with this thing that she has to say about gay people.
And so many of these groups are predators. I believe that the homosexual clubs in schools are just red flags for predators. I mean, I think that they exist there as an audience to continue to fast track kids into this lifestyle, network with adults. I mean, who knows what goes on there. So, I think that one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was, how do we re-horrify people about the sin of homosexuality? People are becoming so comfortable with this. I mean, even people on our side, we need to re-horrify them.
I think it's very complicated. I think it comes back to gaining moral understanding that is found in the Word of God. We have to respect God and God's values again, rather than deciding that we know better than God. And that means, it's become a very trendy sin. That's a fact.
That's the way it is.
You see it everywhere, and we're not, unless we get back to respecting God and God's authority in our life, I don't think we're going to recover that sense of the awfulness of all sin, not just homosexuality.
Right. All sexual sin, and it's really, really destroying our culture.
Frank?
Oh, boy.
It's destroying our culture.
Not enriching it?
I mean...
I would... I would like to think that we're adding something.
The gays?
Wonderful.
all sexual sin apparently
Beautiful.
is destroying. So I'm also probably participating in the destruction of our culture.
Yeah, I don't even want to know, Dan.
Yeah, you don't. But it's glorious.
Anywho,
I just love the idea. How do we re-horrify people? People used to be good and horrified by the gays.
well, let's take on this challenge, Dan.
How to re-horrify people?
Let's give her some tips. What are some things about gay people that should just horrify everyone?
Well,
Because I
mean, I don't know if you've seen a pride parade, but I feel like we're going to have an international glitter shortage at some point.
well, the glitter's already killing all the fish.
Or at least a sparkle shortage.
Yeah.
And I feel like that we could be horrified about that.
Yeah.
The use of hot pants is
pants.
also a bit much.
That is a bit much.
Here's how we re-horrify people.
Yeah.
These gay men going to the gym are getting too strong.
Oh.
And I am
Just scary?
They're
Terrifying.
scary now. They're roving in bunches. Just
Packs of just perfectly chiseled abs and
very powerful men. And women. These lesbians
the
can
lesbians
be pretty powerful
you
too.
know, lesbians are truly terrifying.
I'm horrified.
I mean, women who don't need a man, that's scary.
Right?
Right?
How am I to control her if she doesn't need me?
That's horrifying.
It's all
Just women out of control.
Oh my God!
Just
somebody make a 50s
feral
film strip
women
about
everywhere.
this. Yeah, running wild. Yeah, it's reefer madness. By the way, I'm not going to say what it is, but but that clip inspired me to bring something into frame on the video.
You almost should say what it is because it's so tantalizing.
Because it's an authentic, actual Fred Phelps Westboro Baptist Church sign.
Right. It was held at a protest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's now front and center.
Front and center
On our set.
Yeah.
It's a little baffling too.
It's
like the imagery
inexplicable,
is
to be honest.
a little strange.
But whatever.
Sure, fine. Whatever, Fred. Anyway,
do we have anything?
Yeah,
we want to.
No, we have some folks to thank.
No real correspondence this week.
No, we had some lovely people write in with some.
Well, we had some additional information about some stories.
We had somebody
we were talked about, which we always love to hear, and we love to hear from our listeners all the time.
But no commentary on the show. To speak of. So
that's what that's what we're looking for. We want you people emailing us when you're pissed off at us.
Or when you're delighted by us. I'm just gonna say it. It's okay either way. We'll take it.
All right. Well, I do have a couple people.
Actually, if you're pissed off at us, write into us. If you're delighted by us, go and leave us a 5-star review somewhere.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
All right. Tell a friend.
Spread the word.
Or do what these people have done.
Fine folks have done. They've gone to our website, thankgodimatheist.com, and they've clicked on the support tab to go to Patreon.
Right.
There's also a PayPal option, and we love that too. Patreon allows you to set up a monthly, or not a monthly,
per
episode donation
to
support
keep our show going.
And these fine folks have decided to do that. I'd like to thank Jan, who is a new venerable listener, and Dean, who's a new faithful.
Jan and Dean?
Yeah.
The 50s band, Jan and Dean.
What?
The surf band.
Really?
Yeah, they were like the non-Beach Boys Beach Boys. Jan and Dean. Anyway,
Jen.
Oh, fuck.
My failing eyes, Dan.
Oh, my God, you're old.
That total...
will you get some readers, please?
All right, I'll go to Costco right after that.
Fuck, well, it's Jen and Dean then.
Jen and Dean, not a band.
Not a band at all, but
the lesser known 70s folk band.
Right, exactly.
Jen
And beautiful people whom we honor greatly. Thank you so much for your support.
And of course, we have to thank, as always, our top donor.
Yeah.
And our top donor continues to be Angela,
Lord and Savior
unbelievable
of the podcast.
She just keeps supporting us, and we love her for it.
Yep.
And she loves and blesses us all.
She does. May you all bask in her greatness and glory forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Dan.
It's always hard. Oh. Every single time.
It's like every 10 years or so, a 90-something-year-old man dies.
Oh, it's not going to be 10 years this time. We're going to have this episode again 3 weeks from now.
Right, because Thomas S. Monson, president of the LDS Church, just died at age 90.
Yeah.
And his replacement, and we know this, there's no election system. It's not like the Catholic Church. We kind of tease at the beginning that there's nothing. It's set in stone.
No.
It's not?
Technically not. Tradition has set it into stone, but not doctrine.
Really?
So what happens traditionally after the president of the Mormon Church dies?
Yeah.
Is that the next president is the senior member, the longest serving current member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles.
Right.
Who is a man named Russell M. Nelson, who, thank God, we're replacing 90-year-old Thomas Monson with 93-year-old Russell Nelson.
It's amazing.
He's going soon.
It's so sad.
And the fact is that because the tradition is that it's the person in the quorum who has most seniority, who has the longest tenure.
Yeah.
It's always the oldest man in the universe.
Yeah, often not the oldest one who's currently serving.
Right.
Not necessarily that.
We'll get to why that is, so I did want to get to the fact that technically a revelation could be had, like it's by revelation technically.
So they could all just look at Uchtdorf and be like, he's the one.
They could. If Jesus
total shakeup
lets them all know at the same time, which frankly should happen.
Except Nelson with his Palpatine-like hands reaching out.
I don't know. I feel okay. Russell M. Nelson, you guys, to me looks like, who's that awful stand-up comic / ventriloquist?
What?
Who has the old man dummy? Anyway,
he looks like the old
Jeff
man.
Dunham.
Okay.
He has an old man. One of his puppets is an old man guy.
I know where you're going with this.
And I feel like that's exactly what feel like it must have been patterned after Russell M. Nelson, because he looks exactly like that thing.
Right.
He's just your quintessential grumpy old man. Only he looks like a nice grandpa.
Yeah.
Maybe not as grumpy, but that's who he is. Yeah. He's 93. He's set to be the next guy,
but spry.
I mean, he doesn't look doddering.
He's agile. He's been doing yoga in combination with CrossFit.
Doesn't seem to have any trouble with navigating stairs.
No,
yet.
Is he able to make it up to the lectern on his own?
It doesn't seem like he's. Yeah, no, he's not in a wheelchair.
So he's going to get one good speech in.
He's going to get a few.
Okay.
I feel like he's going to do okay.
Okay. 93 though.
93.
Things start to go fast at that age. Like, if anything happens, he's done for.
Yeah, but he seems to have held on okay.
Heart surgeon, right?
A surgeon, yeah. He was a surgeon. I don't know heart, but maybe.
I thought he was a heart surgeon.
I read surgeon, so yes.
Okay.
So probably.
Okay, but we're right about surgeon, so there's that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is a break, because at this point the deck in that place is stacked with businessmen.
Yeah.
Right now, it is businessmen. That is who is getting brought into the general authority pool.
Yeah,
and that's who's winning. So we should probably talk about sort of looking into the future. Who's coming up? Who's rising through the ranks?
Yeah,
and how the handicapping of this whole thing ends up working.
Because you could totally stack the whole thing. You could design it. You could say, let's get somebody young enough.
Right.
Let's get an age gap in here, and that person will most certainly someday be the prophet.
Well, and that's what's interesting about this whole thing. So so it's not interesting that Russell Nelson's taking over. He's hateful of the gays, so he's going to keep that thing going on.
Right.
He was their front man for the one man, one woman thing.
Right. Okay.
For the longest time, he is just going to carry the banner. That's all we're getting out of this guy.
Okay.
And then Dallin Oaks is behind him, and he's probably more of the same.
Yeah, he's a hateful man.
Yeah, he's a grumpy grump. But what we don't know is who's going to be brought in to replace
not
Thomas Monson,
but
and
also Hale. Right?
Hales. That's right. So there were two guys. So now there are two vacancies
currently
in this quorum.
Because somebody had passed away and his seat hadn't been filled yet.
Correct.
Okay.
So we got two vacancies that need to be filled in this quorum of the 12 apostles. And watching that will be the interesting thing.
Yeah.
Because if they bring on a young guy, like a really young guy, like
somebody in his late 50s, early 60s.
Right.
So super young.
Super
Youthful,
duper.
In fact.
Well,
you were actually using the word youth earlier to describe
as you and I discussed this. Yeah. We're not going to get youth out of this. Matter of fact, the one that we're watching now, the one that you and I are keeping our eye on right now, and everybody kind of is in the know, is David Bednar,
right?
Who was brought into the quorum at the tender age of 52,
and that is young.
That is crazy young.
Yeah,
for this,
right?
Which means this man was brought in to be president someday.
Yeah,
to be prophet.
Because what is the age gap between him and the next guy?
The next youngest?
Well,
so the order of succession goes Russell Nelson, then, as I said, Oaks, then a guy named... So you've got Russell M. Nelson, and then very confusingly, you've got M. Russell Ballard.
Right.
Ballard is unlikely to ever see prophetdom because Oaks is younger than he is, and you want to talk about Palpatine. Oaks is going to live forever.
Yeah.
Just getting by on pure hate.
Yeah. He's a very angry man, isn't he?
Right.
He's a very forceful speaker.
After Oaks, and presumably Ballard dies before Oaks does, after Oaks dies, if Oaks doesn't die before Nelson, which he probably won't, you've got Jeffrey Holland. And that guy, he is currently 77 years old.
Right.
So that's pretty young for these guys. And he will probably last a good long while, which probably precludes Henry B. Eyring, who's just below him, and Dieter Uchtdorf, who's
next in line.
Yeah. Who's the same age as Holland.
Right.
So those guys are probably out of the mark, and that's when we get Bednar.
Oh, okay. And Bednar is in his 60s at this point?
Currently, 65. A very spry 65.
And the next guys are like 10, 12 years older than him.
Yeah, after that, you've got a 77-year-old. You've got a 73-year-old.
Right. So this guy's definitely going to come up. And so then, I guess it's going to be interesting, and hopefully, they won't announce it until the next general conference, right?
No, I think that they'll probably
Well, they do it before that?
I think they choose and then they announce, and then the general conference is where everybody, does the sustaining and everything. So they'll have to do all of their research to make sure that they sustain the guy. I'm kidding. Oh, Mormons will sustain anybody. The sustaining thing is so funny because it feels like you're voting. As a Mormon, what they do is they'll call this person to be a member of the Quorum of the 12, or they call him to be prophet of the church, and then they ask the whole body of the church to sustain, and please indicate you're sustaining by the raising of your hand,
right?
By the uplifted hand. Feels like you're voting, and then they say, do they still any opposed?
Any opposed by the same gesture.
And let me tell you something.
By the same whatever.
If you're going to oppose anybody, you are causing a crisis.
Yeah.
You are a crazy person.
Yeah.
Only a mad person would ever oppose, would ever raise their hand to oppose.
It would just be horrible.
It would be
shock. Well, you were doubting the brethren.
You're doubting the brethren.
You're doubting your local priesthood leader if you're not sustaining the new Sunday school teacher.
You're doubting the revelation of God that this person was meant to be called into this position.
Right.
Now, usually these votes take place on a local level. Like your local ward has called Sister so-and-so to be Relief Society president, or Brother so-and-so to be Sunday school teacher, or whatever.
Right, but it's any calling that goes through. So
any calling.
The pianist in the primary.
That's right. The ward music director, or in some cases, is it a calling to be the Boy Scout leader?
It is a calling.
So then the whole ward does this fake voting thing.
Right, for anything. Anything where the bishop calls you into the office and into his office and says, I'd like you to have this position.
I'd like you to do the following unpaid work.
Uh-huh.
And then the person says yes, or very rarely will say, no, I'm not going to do that.
And pretty much everyone has a calling.
And as an adult in the church, you have a calling.
Yeah, it's an important part of the church. It's part of how they control you, but
it's also a part of
how they get you to show up every week as well,
and multiple times a week for most of these callings.
Right, and so this is absolutely, it's an integral part of the church. Anyway,
yeah, absolutely.
Going all the way up to the top. You have your prophet in the 12.
Yeah, and all of these guys are called and they are sustained by the church. And so they have the vote that is purely ceremonial.
Right.
Even if 50 people in the room raised their hand to object, that person still is going in.
Oh, yeah, the Lord's already spoken.
Right. So it's like
you can have everybody object. The Lord's spoken.
Oh my God! What if? I mean,
it would never happen.
It would never happen. And that's just Mormon culture. And we should talk a bit about Mormon culture because you did your story earlier about how offended and hurt and really just blown away all of Mormondom was by the New York Times not just wildly honoring this man.
Right.
And I think that speaks volumes about the culture of Mormonism, which is prophet worship. It is like they kind of worship Jesus. And they definitely worship God, but they worship the prophet. Like we sang, you hinted at singing songs. We sang a song. I remember a song that I was musing earlier to you about this because there's this song that helped me learn all of the prophets of the church. And thank God it's a modern church, so I don't have to learn the begats going back to, the 1600s or whatever. But if Catholic kids had to learn all the popes,
dear God.
impossible.
Go forever.
But this only goes back to the 1830s, so we're okay.
Right.
But it's an ever-growing song. I want to hear what the song sounds like now because it's got a couple of extra, it's got 4 or 5 prophets since I learned it. So, I mean, I'm guessing it's got maybe only 3.
Yeah, but it's a lovely little song. LDS Mormon prophet. What is it?
Latter-day Prophets are number 1, Joseph Smith, then Brigham Young. John Taylor was 3rd, we know, then Wilford Woodruff, Lorenzo Snow. And it just goes on from there.
Right.
Because it's so important. But these guys venerate the fuck out of these old white men.
Follow the prophet. That's one of the newer ones. We didn't sing that, but I heard it sung.
Yeah.
By children. And I remember actually still believing, or still being in the church. I had my doubts, but I remember being very disturbed by that song.
Oh, really?
Because it seemed so
culty?
Weird and culty. Yeah.
It's culty.
Yeah.
Follow the prophet.
Follow the prophet. Follow the prophet. They just keep saying it over and over and over.
Right.
Like, oh my God, we get it. We'll follow the prophet.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
This is what's and that may be what's really interesting about this whole thing is the absolute vice grip hold that this person has. Like, the Pope is the absolute be-all and end-all of the Catholic Church, theoretically.
Right.
But we still see, like, the Pope says something, and then the Vatican, and I say that with air quotes, suddenly releases a statement clarifying what the Pope had just said.
Right.
You can tell that there are checks on the Pope.
Sure.
There are probably, the quorum of the 12, you hear them talking, they want agreement or whatever. But if the prophet of the Mormon church goes rogue, he gets to just say whatever he wants. And he could just do that. He could just say, you know what? And that's what happened with this whole, with the one thing that Thomas Monson did do that was really remarkable, which was say that children of gay parents couldn't be baptized, couldn't be, it was like literally like they are ostracized from the church. The children of gay parents are ostracized from the church. That was just, I think there were a lot, the reports from inside, and these are just sort of reports. We don't know who they came from, but there was turmoil because they knew how bad an idea this was.
Wow. And they went with it anyway.
But it came just out. If it poured out of the prophet's mouth, he said it was a revelation, and they just shrugged and said, "I guess we got to do it then." So that's
wow.
That's the power that this man has over these people.
He got a revelation. That Thomas S. Monson got a revelation to support that thing.
Yeah.
That's so fucked.
He had a dream.
That's so fucked.
If these guys have a dream and they say that's Jesus, that's the end. That is the final word on the subject.
That's fucked.
Yeah. So that's
well, they get to meet Jesus, and that's always fun.
Well, they can. Some of them have claimed to have done so.
Yeah, and that's when it gets scary.
He appeared to them. And that's not just Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith, of course, did claim that.
Yeah.
But others have done the same.
Fucking terrifying.
Yeah. So
'cause that's a crazy man right there.
And these guys, these guys are in charge of a church that is small by, Catholicism standards or whatever.
Yeah.
But somewhere in the tens of millions range.
Yeah. What is it these days? 15, 16 million is what what's their official claim?
That's their official claim. Is something in the 15, 16 million
right
range. And they've got a strong marketing team.
Yeah.
In these young missionaries. So they're growing.
Yes.
At least, I mean, in the third world, they're growing great guns.
Yeah. They haven't figured out how to get themselves to have a good message for,
For people who don't need their charity.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in trouble. They're in a lot of trouble.
Well, all right. Well, fascinating.
What do you think the over-under is on a person of color being in the Quorum of the 12?
Shit.
20-1.
Maybe. Like, I bet one of these two. So whenever you have a chance to do two, you have an opportunity for one of them to be a little bit of an outlier in some way. I mean, the person philosophically will be completely in line with them and all of that, right?
Right.
But finding maybe someone from South America to join the Quorum of the 12, that
would be wise.
Like Mexico or South America, Central or South America, like that would be smart. They have a lot of members in Mexico, a lot of members in Brazil, and elsewhere in South America. Like, it's probably time that they pick somebody from that part of the world.
And they do have some Latin American members of the Quorum of the 70, which is the larger, less important body.
But mark my words, if they happen to pick somebody from any of those places I just mentioned, he will be the older of the two that they pick.
Yes. Indeed.
By probably a lot. They'll pick an older third world member of the Quorum of the 12.
Yeah.
Or if they ever do pick maybe a black man, which I don't think are there any African Americans?
No.
I
think they got a couple of Latinos and like maybe an Asian.
Okay. So whenever they go that route, guaranteed the man will be old.
Yeah. Yeah, when it happens, they want to make sure that guy doesn't become prophet.
He stands no chance of ever leading the church. None.
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway, that's my prediction. So I don't know. I think this go around, I think you could see it, Dan. I think you could possibly see it. Maybe somebody from Japan.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, because there is a guy. I don't watch the church that closely, but I seem to recall there being a speaker who I was kind of shocked to see a picture of somebody standing at the lectern, and kind of was like, oh, who is that? And it was like a first Quorum of the 70 or type or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, huh, interesting.
They may just pick another guy with an accent. Maybe another Germanic accent or something.
Well, I mean, here's the problem: is we're not entrenched enough in that kind of stuff. Like Uchtdorf obviously was going to happen. Like he was so clear. Like people loved him as a member before he was a member of the Quorum of the 12. He was widely known and beloved.
Yeah, we got to be because he gives a good talk. That's the thing.
Yeah,
we got to be careful not to get too inside baseball. But if we see Elder Jose L. Alonso pop up, wow, all hell will break loose. He even looks a little dark. No, I'm saying, like, what's funny is that I'm like clicking on these names that are like Elder Marcos A. Idukaitis. His name is Marcos, but I think that's that might be. He looks white. He just looks very whitey.
Well, all right. Well, that's that, Dan.
There we go.
Why don't we call it?
All right. If you guys have anything you'd like to tell us, please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yep. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
And while you're there, why not join the Members Only Lounge?
That's right.
It's a closed group. That's what keeps it great. It's moderated. The discussion stays civil.
And you don't have to admit to anybody else on your Facebook page that you're an atheist while you're there.
Which might be really important to you.
Right. Thanks so much, speaking of Facebook, to Mackenzie for her hard work on our Facebook page. And thanks to her, Sarah, Danny, and Amy for their work as moderators in the Members Only Lounge.
And thanks go out to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music, and to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
Yep, and thanks to you, dear listener, for tuning in. We sure do appreciate it.
Bye-bye.